Real estate does seem to be making a little bit of a comeback, especially here in Seattle. In fact, I've been out looking at houses with my little brother, and it doesn't seem like he can even find the right house. Jared, do you see the housing market? Welcome back. How you doing? You were just here the other day.
I was, yeah. Yeah, we talked a little baseball back then.
We did, and your Giants keep winning. The Mariners are winning.
The Mariners are winning. Giants, they had a rough start, but they just clinched one today, though.
That is unbelievable. I never thought I'd say go Mariners again, but...
Don't get too excited just yet. We got to hold out for the long term.
That's right. Well, when Sean Figgin seems to be the star, I think they should trade him now.
Yeah, get more money for him.
That's right. Well, Jared, welcome back. You have a lot of experience in real estate, in property management. And, you talk a little bit about real estate investments, rental properties, and there's a lot of investors in the market now, aren't there?
There is. It's the time. It's the time to be buying. It's the time to be looking at rental properties as an investment option. And for current investors, they're looking to pick up more properties or upgrade their properties, go from a single-family unit to a multi-family unit. It's a great time to be moving up the property ladder as in rental properties.
Sure. And so when people are, when people buy one of these, making sure that these houses or these duplexes or triplexes, whatever they are in good shape is such a key factor, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you need to buy a decent property because that will affect your maintenance costs down the road. So if it's well maintained to begin with, it's easier to keep it well maintained. You might pay a little bit more for it, but usually your maintenance costs are a little lower. Otherwise, if you're buying an older property, there might be some upgrades or bigger maintenance projects you have to do throughout the ownership. And
so if you're trying to upgrade or fix houses, and you have tenants, how do you do that? I mean, tenants don't want to be bothered, do they?
Well, they don't, but, I think it really all starts initially when you do a walkthrough with your tenants. You need to show them the house, show them all the features of the house, show them the major utilities of the house, show them the water shutoff. That's a huge one right there. If something starts leaking, they're going to be the first ones to, be able to shut off the water. And we're talking the main shutoff, we're talking the toilets, the sinks, make sure that those are functional and they know where they are. And then that will ensure that if there ever is a water damage system, they can be the first ones to respond to it, and then you get the plumber.
And so this gives it's almost like a very just a little safety buffer for the house.
It is a safety buffer, and make sure that your tenants know what to do when something breaks. If it's something catastrophic like that, and you got water spewing out, give them their options to call you, and if it's that catastrophic, give them the list of the plumber that if you're not answering your phone, tell them to call this plumber immediately and get them over there. Other things, obviously if they're not major, they can just call you directly and wait for you to respond. But it does add to the protection of that asset. They're your first lines of defense, your tenants.
And are they pretty willing? I guess it's their home. They're living there. So
yeah, they don't want their stuff to get wet.
To put it blunt, right?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of pride and ownership. Those are things that if you show that as an owner, that you take care of your properties, your tenants tend to take better care of it too. If they get the attitude that you don't really care, they're going to act the same way.
That's interesting. It's almost a leading by example as a tenant from the landlord.
It is, and my nicest houses, the ones that were remodeled to begin with and then turned into rentals, the tenants take really good care of them. I mean, when you have a nice house, it's more obvious when it looks bad. So there is a correlation between that, where if you give them a nice product, they more likely are going to keep good care of it.
Well, certainly, I mean, it would seem that people rent a nice house, and the nicer it looks at the beginning, those are probably tenants that like nicer things. They plan on keeping it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And all those things go to better tenant relations. You want to tell them how you maintain the house. I tell all my tenants that we do routine inspections. We come by seasonally to inspect the interior, the smoke detectors, fire extinguishers.
Things to keep them safe.
Things to keep them safe. Yeah. I mean, typically most leases will state that the batteries in the smoke detector is up to the tenant's responsibility. I do leave it that way, but just give them the batteries. I mean, we're talking about if there ever is a fire, you don't want any of your tenants to get hurt. And you want to protect your asset. You want the fire department over there immediately to put out whatever it is and protect your asset.
So you talked about maybe establishing a few ground rules too, though, with your tenants, right? I mean, whether you're giving them batteries, make sure that's going. You kind of give them the lay of the land, establish a few rules for them to, not how they live, but just maybe how they communicate with you. The one I thought was really interesting is, establish your business hours. You don't get the 2 a.m. phone call, maybe.
Correct. Yeah. And that's definitely, I give them my business hours. I let them know if I do get text messages or if I don't get text messages, either one. I always like to document all maintenance requests, and I do that electronically. I have my own management website that the tenants, if it's an emergency, they call me immediately, but I also ask them to go online and fill out a request. It's a great way to document the request of the repair. So in the future, if there's ever a dispute, you can say, hey, you notified me on Monday. I had it fixed by Tuesday. There's nothing, it's not like you took 2 weeks to fix the problem. So it really does benefit to kind of establish the tone for the year. This is the business hours. If it's outside of the business hours and there's a major repair, these are the people you call, and what to do when, X, Y, and Z happen.
And then I guess if you establish those ground rules with a tenant, there's also an expectation that's set, so they're not upset that you don't call them back at 3:00 in the morning or whatever it may be. So, like you said, there's this tenant relations that works out better.
It does. Some of them, I've had my own tenants, they call out and they're not respecting the time frame, but they're not upset if I call them back first thing, Monday morning during business hours. Excuse me. I always tell them, this is what you need to do in these situations. And therefore they're prepared. They're not freaking out. They're not calling, maybe a parent going, hey, what am I doing? And the parent's like, it's not my house. I don't know what to do. So it's setting up those guidelines and rules and, how to handle these situations.
And then, but you also, I guess, when you, from a landlord side, you set up these expectations. Now you're also on the hook to perform.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are state laws when it comes to certain repairs about how quickly things need to be repaired. And those are things I usually they're all available, landlord-tenant law, but I usually go over that with any owners I'm working with so they know what to do and how to respond in certain situations, how much time they have to fix that, leaky pipe or fix, hot water tank or whatever it is.
Right. And so when you start establishing these rules and the tenant now knows and you create this buffer, right, and allow them to maybe take care of some of these easier things, show them how to use the house, you really are, in the end, protecting your asset, which is what most people want with their investments.
Yes, it goes, you are protecting the asset. That's a huge part. You're educating your tenants so that they, a lot of them, they might be first-time renters. So you're giving them a lot of education to, get in front of causing potential problems and fixing potential problems quicker. So yeah, all of that goes to establish, protection for your asset. Usually happier tenants, they're happier when things are getting fixed on time and they know what to do. They're not confused or, what do I do in this situation? And all that leads to usually long-term tenants. Keep them past the lease.
Keep them happy.
Keep them happy. They stay, which ultimately makes it easier for your owner to take care of rental properties.
Well, it sounds all like good information. And would you say then it's really that being up front that becomes the key? Right, like day one, great, let's establish this relationship.
I honestly think so. This day one stuff starts on first meeting them. They haven't even filled out the application. That's part of my sales pitch when, their tenants are looking at places. This is what we do. This is how we run our business. And it really appeals to them.
You show you're responsible on your side. It allows them, as you said, to see it, I guess.
Yeah, and they know they're getting a full product. They're getting the maintenance of the property. They're getting, a nice-looking house. They know the rules up front. It all makes them more comfortable and more willing to sign that lease, stay longer, and pay your rents.
Well, and I guess that real key is then they're making sure that the smoke detectors are there or these things that can really protect the house, shutting off the water. All these different things.
Definitely. And showing them how to use it, and, I do have in my lease the consequences of tampering with smoke detectors. Sometimes they might do that or the battery starts beeping and they just take it out. That can be.
Sounds like a college dorm room, Jared.
Those might be in the college houses. Yeah. And those, typically where I see it, but, they're those are there. They're very important. I mean, there's something that everybody overlooks, but they're really there to save your life and then save your asset.
Well, Jared, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break, but Heather Moore is going to join us when we come back, and she's going to figure out what she wants to ask, because I know she's got big questions for Jared and Dennis and myself. We'll be right back after this break. That's Jared Fraser.